Welcome to the Beacon Way podcast, where your hosts, Jennifer Christensen and Adrian Wilkerson, talk shop about what really works in today's digital marketing world. As the co-founders of Beacon Media and Marketing, Jennifer and Adrian have been a part of digital marketing since its early stages in the mid-2000s. Tune in as they shine light on what works and what doesn't in the ever-changing world of digital marketing for small businesses.
Welcome back to the Beacon Way podcast. I am so excited today. I have a very special guest, our business coach, and I have referenced Karie before. So it's such a huge impact on Beacon, and so really excited to share some of the tips and tricks that she's helped us with and just share a little bit of her story today. So excited to introduce Karie Kaufmann with Action Business Coach, Inc. She's also Scaling Up certified, and I could give you a huge resume. I think she won Coach of the Year this year. Is that right, Karie?
Did.
Yes. Amazing. How big of a group was that out of how many coaches
That
in the nation?
organization is about 1,000 coaches in 70 something countries. So that was a global award. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So that would fit the 1 in 1,000 is how I would describe you. That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
thank you. Yeah. I guess you could say that.
That's great. So welcome to the Beacon Way, Karie.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. You. We interview guests that range from business to mental health. That's our focus. So a lot of those things combined. And one of the things I've really appreciated about you as a coach, there's a lot of different things, but is your ability to, I feel like, talk to me as a person first and then as an owner. And I think that is a little bit rare sometimes as opposed to what we see in the world is just all about the business and maybe not so much about the person. So I think that balance is maybe what I'd like to start with I guess for those that don't know you though, let's just start with your journey. So a little bit of how you got into this, how you got into coaching, what drove you to this. A lot of people say they want to be a coach or think they want to coach. So I think giving a little context would be great.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because when I became a coach or when I was first introduced to the industry, I think my first response was, is that a real thing? This was in 2004. I had never even heard the term business coaching. And I wasn't sure if it was legitimate. I was like, how do they help people? I don't even know what that means. But it really clicked with me because I grew up in a family business. My dad's a business owner and I worked in the family business for a long time. And around grad school, I thought I was too big for the family business. I wanted to move on into corporate. So I worked in corporate marketing for several years. And that's actually how I stumbled into the coaching profession because it was a coworker of mine here in San Diego. We were working in high tech. And he walks into my office one day and he goes, I met somebody that does something that I think you'd be good at. And that was my introduction to the coaching world in 2004. So when I met his friend, he introduced us and it just resonated with me because I felt like I understood the entrepreneurial journey and that I would be able to help people like my dad. Because after working in the family business, I did go on and get my MBA and had a good amount by then of corporate experience and just felt like I had developed some tools and resources and that it was really a community that I understood and had been deeply ingrained in. So in 2005 is when I started my coaching journey. So now over 18 years. In 2009 is when I went independent. I spent my first few years working in a private firm before I opened my own in 2009.
Wow. I didn't even know the background of the family business. I feel like I should have known that. I'm sure you said that at some point. So you saw the intimate behind the scenes, I assume, of just like the stress.
Yeah.
Like what it really means to be an entrepreneur.
And maybe that is why you feel that from me. I'm not a life coach at all. I spend a lot of time talking about people's lives or personal goals, but I do build relationships with my clients. And I believe that being in business should give you more life and not suck the life out of you. So I think it was that experience of growing up in a family business that developed the core purpose for our firm is helping leaders and businesses to fulfill their true potential. Because my dad's a successful guy, but I know what it was like to, as a business owner, you want to build the business that you're capable of, that your team is capable of. And there's this inherent drive for most of us that we always want to achieve more and do better. And you want to make it home in time for dinner, or you want to make it to your kids' functions, or you want to look after your health and relationships and other things that are important, and that natural tension that exists. So it's That's, I think, the challenge of every business owner in the world is how can I pursue my goals and make my business all that I want it to be and all that I think it could be, but also let it be a vehicle to provide me with more life and build a business that works for me, not a business that just works because of me.
Yeah, I love that. So in your journey then of these past, gosh, over a dozen years, that's crazy that you've been in this long and have been doing this. I'm sure certain trends that are really similar that you see business owners at different parts of the journey. For those that, as you've worked with so many different business owners, would you say dozens, hundreds? At what
Over a
level?
thousand.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I stopped
So
counting. It's definitely over 1,000.
okay. So you have an incredible data set, even anecdotally, with your particular group of people
Yeah,
that you've worked with. That's quite a massive amount of data, right,
it
to see
is.
trends. And are you mainly working with people that are right in the beginning, that are at a scaling point? What's your ideal client of who you're working with?
It's evolved over the years. In the early stages, I worked with a lot of solopreneurs. I've never worked with startups, to be honest. I'm just not that good at that. I think there's people out there who are really skilled at that, and it's just not me. So I'd be quick to refer that out to somebody who's better at that than me. But I used to work with a lot of early stage solopreneurs or very small businesses. But over nearly 20 years now, my clientele has evolved. And now I really am focused on those scale up businesses. There are ones that what I'd say they have in common is they're already doing a lot of things. They figured a lot of things out, right? They've already built a good foundation and they're ready to really scale it. But that comes with different challenges because
Yeah.
Marshall Goldsmith says, what got you here won't get you there. So they've learned a lot. They're smart. They've already have dialed in. Usually their products and services are good. They've got a lot of the fundamentals worked out, probably already making some decent revenue and profit, but they don't really know how to jump that next chasm to get from where they are now to that next revenue curve. And Jen, you've probably seen this image before in the scaling up world that's called the valleys of death. And it's statistics about sizes of businesses, and that 96% of businesses in the United States never make it past seven figures. Only 4% break a million, and then 0.4% break 10 million, and even fewer 50 million and 100 million. So the number gets smaller and smaller because growth doesn't go up and to the right. There's a little plateau and then there's a little valley, and then you jump to the next level, because that
Yeah.
means at that phase you have to relearn things about business. It might mean you have to make new investments. You have to hire people who are smarter than you, which is a real challenge for a founder, right? To let go of things. Once upon a time, founders knew the most about everything in the whole business, and now they're at a point where they're hired maybe executive levels, or now there's culture dynamics and investments they got to make. There's just a lot of decisions that they really need to get right in order to scale. So that's been my focus over the past handful of years, is businesses that are right in that little spot.
I love the way that you describe that. And that has been, I think, for me, one of the most impactful things that I've learned from you and that has really come home to me is just in many different ways, you saying what got you to this point isn't going to get you to the next point.
Mm-hmm.
And so even me just having to dig deep as a founder and like what the skills that I had that got us to a certain point for my part that I was bringing into the business, and really doing a self-assessment of, okay, do I want to grow into this next role?
Yeah.
Because I will have to. I will have to educate myself. I will have to grow. And can I do it quickly enough that will benefit the business? Or does it really make more sense to hire somebody to do those pieces?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
that's been incredibly challenging. It's almost an ego thing, because when you first start, you're not thinking that. You're thinking that I'm going to take this from here to there. And then that's just mentally, I think, how most founders think. You're going to go the whole way. And then along the way, you realize, okay, I need to refine what I do well, and then make sure that the people that are better than me in these other areas can help take the business there.
Exactly.
Would you say that? Am I describing that in a way that makes sense?
Exactly. Yeah. I often tell people you're perfectly equipped to run your current business, to do that really well, but you're not equipped to run the business that you want next because you've never done it before.
Right.
And as a business is growing, naturally, the owner or the key people who've been there for a while naturally wear multiple hats. But as the business grows, they don't all fit anymore. Like you got to start to separate. You might have used to really have 2 or 3 different job descriptions because that's the size the business was. And as it grows and those jobs all become bigger, you got to take a hat off and give it to somebody else. And that act of letting go or making the investments into the high talent, high caliber people it's a gap that people have to take a little leap of faith, and it can be scary. And that's what keeps businesses on that plateau. They don't jump the valley to the next growth. So if they're stagnant and stay where they are, revenue range, not really moving a whole lot, that's because they're stuck on that plateau and either they don't want to or don't know how to cross that next big change that they're going to have to make to get to the next level.
Yeah, it's amazing to me with you saying that. And I've seen those books, and I remember looking at that when we were under $1 million. And it was really encouraging, by the way, to find out, okay, there's only a small percentage that even make it to that point, because that is not, I feel like, the word on the street, right? That is not what we think of when we think of businesses. I thought almost everybody was there, and that's just not the case. So that's encouraging, but it's also, I think, for me, it helped me mentally shift to, okay, this is a more narrow path. If we choose to go bigger, and that was Adrian's dream always from the beginning, it took me a while to get on board with that. But if we chose to do that, that was a more narrow path in the way that we would have to consistently shift mindset. I think that's the thing that surprises me so much, is how much mindset has to shift over and over again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Which is what you do great, which is amazing. So in all this time that you've been doing this, what is it at the end of the day that makes you feel fulfilled? What is it that makes you feel like this is where I'm supposed to be? This is what I'm supposed to be doing. What's that piece that you take home that feels good for you?
I think our core purpose, as I described, helping leaders and businesses fulfill their potential, it really is that. I didn't write that purpose for my business until I was probably 10 years in. I discovered it. It was always there, but it took me a while to really figure out like what that was that kind of lights me up and why I actually do this. But I love to win. One of our core values is win at what matters. It's not about winning at all costs. It's not about winning in business and losing other things that are important to you in life. So just when I see people growing, being the leader that they want to be, building the company that they want to build, and enjoying the ride, having a good time doing it and watching the fulfillment that comes out of that. And the ripple effect too. Small businesses make the world go around. Like, I forget the statistics. I looked them up a while back, but I think it's well over half of Americans are employed by a small business. Like,
right.
We're the number one job creators. We're the ones giving back to the community, not to mention actually providing the goods or services that the business provides. There's so much more ripple effect that business has on the community that's well beyond the impact that the big corporations are making, what small businesses can do collectively, which that's just exciting to me. I don't think business owners give themselves enough credit for the impact that they make, because they feel like, oh, I'm just small, or I just have a small team, or I'm nothing compared to the Fortune 500. But it's really not true. It's a huge collective impact that we make.
I completely agree with that. I think of it as almost the 80-20 rule. There's that, I just read that stat of, I think it's 80 or maybe it's even 88% of businesses on the S&P are actually owned by 2 companies, Vanguard and BlackRock.
Yeah.
Which is a little shocking, but on some level, I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense, right? They hit a certain point, and then it's like these huge companies that buy them out. And so I think about the 80-20 in that scenario. And then I think about the 80-20 in the small business scenario of when I see community impact, when I see who's supporting the local teams, when I see who's showing up to volunteer, who's helping their employees be able to make their first home or have that flex. It's all of the things that make life worth living in community. And I'm not saying that corporations don't have their place, but these are the people that I align with. They're the ones that I want to support community. I want to feel like I'm having an impact well beyond myself. That brings joy.
Yeah.
It sounds like that's the same alignment, which is really great.
Sure.
So is there a specific thing that happens that drives most business owners to contact you for the first time? Is it a stress point that they're experiencing? Is it a stuck? What is that entryway that you see when people reach out to say, I want to coach?
Sometimes it's that they're stuck on something. There's always some kind of a pain point, But
Right.
oftentimes there's two reasons why people change: vision and dissatisfaction. Or it's a carrot or it's a stick. Really, it needs to be both. So I'd say with my best clients, it's a healthy combination of both, meaning that they know they can achieve more. They want to take their business to the next level. Maybe they're a little unsure of how to do that. And they either expect to hit some roadblocks, or maybe they've already hit some roadblocks or have some constraints that they need help figuring out. So it's not just what they want to move away from, overcoming those challenges. It's also what they want to move toward. And I often say, I'm not an aspirin coach. If somebody just wants help, I've got these business headaches. Can you help me solve my problems? I'm not your woman for that. Every business has headaches and I'll help you solve them. But if that's where you want to end, that's not exciting to me as a coach. And I'm just not interested in that kind of work anymore. Once upon a time, I would have been motivated by helping people solve problems. Now I'm more motivated by helping people overcome those challenges so that they can do the next thing. Right. So if there's not some vision there attached to it, like, do you want to take an aspirin or do you want to take a vitamin? I'm more the vitamin coach.
I love that. You're the vitamin business coach. Yeah, that's really great.
You thinking of my marketing tagline now? I can see your ears.
I think that's pretty good, actually. You could definitely do something great with that. So that makes a lot of sense. And I think that's more of a mindset alignment, right? If they're in that mindset, that's going to align with even you probably being the best partner as they're moving to that level. That makes sense. So over the years, with all these people that you've been able to work with, I guess in my mind, I always think of like the clients that I see that consistently do well. Like I can see certain characteristics. I can see certain things that they're doing consistently, even across the industry. There's things that I'll start picking up on. And I'll just throw out there, for me, one of the things that I've seen that's a core piece almost beyond any other skill set or service that they're offering is what I would call confident humility.
Mm-hmm.
So I see that if they have confidence and they have that vision, right? They're like, I'm driven, I have this vision, I believe in this. And that's that confidence part that they're holding on to. But the humility is that being teachable. And it's just so interesting to me. I can see this trend where the clients I have that are the most, what I would say, curious and genuinely open to, hey, I don't know everything. Help me figure this out. Or I'm looking to find an answer and I'm looking outside of myself. And now I'm going to actually listen to that answer and then implement it and try it versus thinking I know better. I just have seen over and over again now through hundreds of clients.
Yep.
That seems to be like the secret sauce or something.
Yeah,
So
you put it perfectly. I think that I would say the same thing about my ideal client, that they need some level of confidence in themselves, because I'm not a therapist. Everybody has a downtime and needs some encouragement, but that level of confidence, but also what I've always called being coachable, which is basically what you said, being willing to take advice and also willing to apply it.
right.
Great clients also love to learn, and they're not just relying on me to teach them. They're actively investing in their own executive education, if that's through books or podcasts or attending conferences. And being in community, I think, is also really important for business owners or high growth companies in particular, because it can be pretty lonely. And
Yeah.
most of them don't have anybody, maybe other than me, that they can really confide in or that can even really get them. I have a lot of clients I've asked over the years, do your friends and family actually even know what you do? And so many of them are like, no, they don't have a clue. They might think they know my business, but they don't actually know what I do or what my business is like or what I do on a day-to-day living, what my world is like. So most of my clients, at least those that are in Southern California, and I have clients all over the place, but big concentration in Southern California, most of them know each other. Or they've at least met a couple of my clients if they haven't met all of them. And we try to get together for, socials and things that regional companies will come in for, just to develop that community. And that's important for me too. I learned that based on my own experience. It's one of the reasons why I so value the coaching franchise and this action coach and scaling up that I belong to, was because that community of coaches, not only is it good education and good training, but it's just a good support network and it makes it more fun. And those people have challenged me to be better and achieve more than I probably would have pushed myself to do had I been on my own. And then help you get there as well. Provide just insight, encouragement, and sharing ideas. And my clients learn so much from each other. Even if their industries couldn't be further apart, they all still really have the same challenges. They'll still catch them talking over lunch and being like, what are you guys doing for recruiting? Or how are you using AI? Or just these conversations that they can learn, get these, what I call blinding flashes of the obvious that happens when somebody who doesn't know a thing about your business or industry, and they're just ignorant enough to be helpful because they're not jaded and they don't have the preconceived ideas that you have about your own business. They're like, why do you do it that way? In my industry, we do it this way. And you're like, oh, we haven't really thought about this. That's just the way we do it. So I think that's a big part of business success, and that I like working with people who also value that, who want to invest in giving and receiving in that reciprocal kind of, yeah.
I definitely relate to that. And I'm a little bit jealous that Adrian's part of Vistage now. When we first started, I think it was only about a year into starting, we were running into some roadblocks with a pretty male dominated business community in Anchorage that wasn't super open to our offerings of digital marketing. And so I actually started a group called Women Entrepreneurs of Alaska. And it really became that community focus. It was a wonderful networking, and a lot of business came from that, which was great because a lot of people needed marketing and I needed some of their services, but it became well beyond that. It was definitely a place to just go and talk about things that it was like other people I can't talk to this stuff about.
Exactly.
And eventually the hard part was that as we leveled up and then most of our clients became national, it didn't really fit anymore.
Yeah.
And so I sold it. But I really miss that part.
Yeah.
I really miss, and I have good conversations with people, but most of the women, not just women, but most of the business owners I talk to are lonely.
Mhm.
There's just who do I talk to about this stuff? Or there's not a group necessarily for that.
And it's natural for that to evolve over time because grow things, right? As you should. If you were still doing the same thing you were doing 10 years ago, then, you probably wouldn't be too happy about that. And as Jim Rohn says, you're the average of the people that you spend the most time with. So it's good to look for what's next. Like, where's my next group or community or connections, even if they're digital or virtual or through books, just that you feel like you have that people you can.
I've definitely found other ways to connect, and even just being part of some of the communities with my clients and things that I'm involved in really brings me joy. But I feel like that's something for 2024 I'm going to focus on more, because I think that community aspect of just like-mindedness and growth and everything. Karie, we've got about 5 minutes left. Is there anything particular that you really want to share that you wish more business owners knew, or something that you feel like is just something that you want to get out into the world as far as your perspective on what it means to be a business owner and to live that life?
It's a great question. One of the things that people need to be aware of is looking at their challenges as lessons. One of my favorite quotes, I don't know who said it, but I repeat it all the time. Sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. And one of the most profound things that happened to me in my business was, I think it was around 2016. My business was really taking off. Things were going well. I had a good client base. They were getting results. I was making good money. My family was stable. I had little kids at the time. So by most definitions, life was pretty good. But I really had no margin. Like I was packed to the gills. I'd come into the office and my day was just stacked with coaching sessions, to the point where some days I would be grateful if somebody got sick and I got an hour to oh, thank God they can't make it. Isn't that terrible? But that's like how at capacity that I was. So on the surface, things were going well, but I don't know that they really were. And what brought that to my attention was I had a friend who's also a coach, does pretty much exactly what I do. And he and his wife have a practice together and in New Mexico. And he had a major health issue that he was in the hospital for a few months. Totally unexpected, happened at random, nothing that they were able to plan for. And obviously his wife is also now sidetracked with obviously looking after him and their boys and not so much the business. I got a call from a mutual friend that said, hey, Mark's got all these clients. Would you be willing to at least just do a few coaching sessions, maybe work with one of his clients for a few months until they could get back on their feet. And I couldn't say yes. I had no bandwidth left. And I was like, I'm doing something wrong if I'm seemingly checking all the boxes in life and I can't say yes to help a friend and to help a couple other business owners who need some extra support right now. And that really prompted me to change my entire business. That's when I went and got Scaling Up certified, and I started making some significant changes. And my theme for that year became create space, which for me meant I had to let go of things if I was ever going to make room for new things or for different things or for better things. And saying no to things or letting go of things that were working was really hard and scary. But that prompted me to do that. So I think that taking those signs and those pain points as just like you would in your health, if you're experiencing a symptom of something, you're like, there must be something else going on. Maybe I should dig to the root cause and figure out, like, is what I'm doing really working for me, or am I maybe harming myself by not looking after my health or changing some things? And I think that people need to do that in their business if they're experiencing things that don't feel like success, even though the society might tell you that it is, to learn from that lesson and say, what do I need to change to really be the healthiest version of my business and the healthiest version of myself? Is my business producing for me what I want it to do and giving me the opportunities that I want it to provide beyond the income?
I think that is incredibly impactful. Another reason that I think you're an amazing coach, because that really is winning at what matters.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, that is the big stuff.
That's around the time I wrote that core value too.
That just reinforces where I feel like that is where I struggle, is against the certain level of success, or maybe even things look a certain way. But just to be vulnerable, just as I was talking about in coaching this week, I feel burned out. I'm not taking enough time for myself. There's other things that have been coming at me personally. I spoke at a really wonderful event this past Saturday, and it was one of those events. It was a personal event, so it had nothing to do with business, but it was one of those events that I knew if I could just have had the emotional bandwidth to stay and just receive all the good things that were happening there, it would have been so good for me. But after I spoke, I was so exhausted, I had to go home. And so I missed the whole rest of it, because that was literally all I had bandwidth for, was to show up, give what I had to give, and then I had to go home and sleep. And that actually was what made me start thinking about things this week of like, I don't like that.
Yeah, something's
I
wrong.
don't want to be that exhausted on a Saturday that I can't go and really enjoy something that's meaningful to me, because that's a big part of my life. That is my community on a personal level. And so I really appreciate ending at that spot, because I think we can talk about all different ways to be successful and grow your business and all of it. But at the end of the day, if it's not really what matters, then it's not really winning.
Yep.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for your time, Karie. I really appreciate it. And for those of you that are intrigued, and I have a feeling many of you will be, like I said, she really is 1 in 1,000. You can look up Karie. They can reach out to you through just Action Coach Inc. They can go to your website. Is it the best?
Kaufmann.com.
Karie. Okay. So Karie Kaufmann.
Yeah, if you can figure out how to spell my name, I'm completely easy to find. I'm on pretty much all the social platforms or Google.
Yeah. So, and I do love following you on LinkedIn. For those of you who haven't followed Karie on LinkedIn yet, you just do great videos, and I just feel like encouraging but helpful things. It's digestible.
Thank you.
Yeah. I really enjoy that. So please follow her on LinkedIn, and I'll put up your URL and information in the podcast so people can easily find you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jen. This is fun.
Yep. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Beacon Way. We hope you enjoyed it and had some good takeaways. Please subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. And if you've enjoyed the show, please give us some stars on your podcast channel of choice. For more information, tips, and notes from the show, check us out at beaconmm.com. For more information on how Beacon can help market your business, email us at welcome@beaconmm.com.